There you go. Because this explanation doesn't exist anywhere. So if you'd like to come back and reference that, this video will be your absolute only way to do so. So multivoting is a challenge on democracy. There is a problem in democracy that we were trying to solve, which is that every vote is the same. What if we voted using our intentions for such voting? And I'm going to share this board here with you. Let me just give a second for the tech logistics. How do I do that again? Share screen. Can you folks see my screen? Is that all right? Grand. So here are the proposals you all gave me. And we're going to do dot voting. So basically, each of you will receive 3 votes, and you can put them anywhere, which means that if you want to put your 3 votes here, that's fine. If you want to put 1 vote here, 1 vote here, and 1 vote here, that's absolutely fine. We've all seen dot voting at this point. It's a very simple and effective technique. But this is different because you have 3 options on why you're voting. You might vote on something because you find this is the most exciting prospect for your life. You might vote of something because you think this is going to be really useful for whatever task you're doing. Or you might vote on something because it's really easy to implement. It's really a low-hanging fruit that should be done as quickly as possible. And you're not forced to get one of each pile. You can put 3 exciting votes here. You can put 2 useful votes and 1 easy vote here. And by using this differentiation, by naming why we're voting, we can get to very interesting conversations later on. And that is the basis of multivoting. I'm gonna now share a link with you so you can literally grab those post-its and put below here so we have a voting going on. What of those proposals do you believe to be the most exciting, the most useful, the most easy, and which of those 3 energies would really entice you to vote in one or another? And then at the end, I'm gonna give you a little hint of what sort of conversation, what sort of useful questions this method of voting can provoke. How can you quickly get to interesting and useful conversations that can help you really be strategic just using something as simple of this as this Jamboard. Okay, so let me share this link here with you. And
Sorry, can I just double check? Have we all got 3 votes in total? Is that
you
right?
all got 3 votes. You can use any of the piles and you can vote on any of the things. Please position your post-its below the proposals. And here's the board. By the way, a little extra note, I have tried to create this board both on Miro and Mural, which are much prettier tools, but they were fiddly and they would force you all to log in. So I used the ugly but practical Jamboard. So Paul is asking about the votes. 3 votes each from any of the piles, and you can distribute your votes in any way. You can put all of your votes in one item. You can put in different items, whatever you want, as long as you use your 3 votes. Okay, seems like most people already positioned their votes. If you're finishing your votes, it's absolutely fine. But let's have a look together at this board here. So here's the power of multivoting. I can, at a glance, understand that the main motivation factor for this group is excitement. If that was a group of people who I was working with every day, that would be a powerful information to find in 5 minutes. Most of the post-its removed were the exciting ones. Of course, I could count them to have the actual data on it, but even at a glance. And also, easiness of implementation doesn't seem to be such a great factor for this group. This is precious information to know how to motivate groups and how to deal with groups. But multivoting provokes also interesting questions and interesting conversations. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples. And in a moment, I'm actually going to open the floor so that if anybody has their own questions, take the facilitations from me and ask those questions. But let me give you a couple of examples. For example, reimagining offices seems to be reasonably popular, especially on the excitement factor, but nobody voted easy. Does anybody want to speak for that? Why do you think this would be hard?
It's maybe that being in an office is not something we're thinking about as much as we would have done previously because we're working from home.
So for me, that's something that we're trying to do at the moment. And the thing that makes that difficult is the finance and working through the various committees and groups and tenders that you need to get to actually get any of this to happen, and to enable other people to come with you on that journey who perhaps have a more traditional mindset.
Good. Well, normally I would allow this conversation to go a little further and I would probe a little further. But since we're here to learn how to use multivoting, and since I want to also open the floor for more questions coming from you, I think this is enough to give a taster. Let me ask a different question now, just so you also know other ways that this can that this could go. So in an option like this, reduction of travel and impact, we see a variation. There's all the items here. It's easy, useful, and exciting. For something like this, I would invite each of those motives to be represented by an opinion. So, for example, would anybody who voted useful here care to explain why do you believe this is particularly useful?
I can speak. I put useful there. It's Julie. So for me, it's useful on many, I put useful for a different reason. One, for the environment. I never thought about it that way. So thank you. I'm excited about that possibility. So it has a macro level impact. It's useful for my budget. It's useful for my family and work-life balance. So for me, that was all the reasons why I wrote useful.
Would anybody who put exciting here talk a little bit about this excitement, about the reduction in travel?
I put exciting. I'm like, oh, should I put that now? But I think it's actually, although, you know, I'm very pleased about the budget and work-life balance and everything else, but actually, especially in the current climate, thinking about something that could have a very positive environmental impact is quite exciting, because it's something that it affects so many people. And it's that if you've got 1 million people all doing something slightly differently, it will have a big impact, which is quite exciting.
Cool. So each of those little questions that I'm putting here could evolve into whole 1-hour conversations, and perhaps they should. Perhaps this is the tool that you're going to use to provoke those conversations, or even schedule a call about one question that you ended up asking and somebody said something interesting at the end. But here, this is a course to train you as facilitators for this tool. So would any of you would like to give this a look and try to find useful, interesting information? So try to formulate a question that would bring more information out of what we already have here. This is the moment, folks. Try it out. Who's feeling daring?
I would be interested in hearing more around the adequate technology piece, and somebody who wrote useful to expand on that.
I might sort of expand on it, because I suppose there's two things that strike me about it. The first is that I suppose just from the point of view of, allowing for the sort of hybrid working, you need to have adequate technology, and so,
Yeah.
ensuring that everybody has, decent internet connection, that you've got a decent camera, a decent microphone, that you're actually able to access. We have a situation where we've got different sites within our hospital group, and one site uses MS Teams, another site uses WebEx, and then and then one site can't Zoom is blocked entirely on another site, and so it's there's this mix and match there. So I think that but the other thing that strikes me just in asking that question, Julie, is that I wonder, in terms of the motive voting, should there also be I suppose, depending on the sort of question that you're asking, should you consider another sort of motive which is essential, or I suppose, going back to liberating structures, should we also try to identify what's the minimum specification, what are the non-negotiables. Now I know I straight away, as I'm asking the question, I can see the problem as well, which is that then everybody says, oh, they're all essential, and of course you need to. There's another liberating structure you need to use to sift those down. But I suppose that's just one of the things that struck me, that I think I had voted for that as useful, but really I was thinking in my head, actually I think it's essential.
Great, thank you. Are the exciting, useful, and easy tickets, can we change those? Is that flexible in motive voting?
Yes, I think so. There hasn't been a lot of experimentation. There has been enough experimentation to select those, but since the beginning, we believe that there not only could be different scenarios where one of those could be added or changed, but also, depending on the scenario, there will be a next phase after that one that would use the aggregated data of this voting to other things, but those haven't been developed yet. This is just the minimum viable usefulness of the thing, and it's just so simple that it's worth sharing.
I think it's a really lovely, I really thank you for sharing, because I love to, I've not come across Jamboard much, but if we were all in a room, we'd have flip charts and we'd have maybe stickers and say, go and put your stickers on the favorite. And I think it's lovely to see ways of doing that, kind of getting people interacting on a whiteboard. Really, really good. Thank you. You'd use it for lots of different things and customize it whatever way you wanted.
Thank you. And now, is that available? Like, do we all have access to something like this, or is that your IP? Like, is that your stuff?
It's my stuff, but use it. It's fine.
But Jamboard is a thing that's out there. Sorry,
Jamboard is a Google product.
Okay.
It is very ugly and is hard to do anything that looks even vaguely all right, but it is free. It is easy. I see two hands raised. I think Helen, you were first.
Oh, hi. Yeah, it was just, we use Jamboard quite a lot, and it is quite ugly, but it's useful, and you can add pictures to it and all sorts of stuff. But have a little go. One of the other things that we do as well sometimes, Jorian, for the voting is to use the shapes. I don't know if I can go back on the and you can use these shapes in different colours to use as voting if you haven't got the patience to go in and make all those lovely post-it notes that you did. So you could allocate them to as like your circles, excited, your squares, useful, your stars, the easy, and get people to move it around like that. But maybe that's more complicated. I don't know. I looked at that and I thought, oh my, how long did it take you to make all of those? But they look great.
I appreciate that because it took me a while.
So you have to make every little square that you wrote easy in.
Not really, but
Okay.
let me not explain
Sort
this
of.
logistics. I think we're next, Rob.
Sure. Yeah, so one of the things that struck me with this as well, and I think that particularly when you're asking for, like, you know, the feedback from people on kind of the reasons for their choices, is something that I learned from using the you know, the 2510 crowdsourcing, is that with that you can identify who are the enthusiasts, who are the people who, like, if you decide, for example, if we were trying to do this to sort of identify, you know, let's find, you know, 5, 6 sort of key QI projects that we need to do in the next 6 months, whatever it might be. There may be a way here where you can sort of say, you know, the people who sort of said, you know, who sort of said, oh, this is, you know, the ones that are sort of exciting, plus or minus the ones that where they say it's easy. They may be the people who are self-selecting to be part of that QI team. So you can imagine if these were a bunch of QI projects, and let's say you've got the ones there on reimagining offices. Well, you've got a whole bunch of people who said that they think that's exciting, and you've got at least one person there who said he thinks it's useful. So you could sort of, you know, if you were then trying to put your QI team together, I would suspect that whoever put in those votes, and okay, I'll put my hands up and say I was one of them, that, you know, they're probably the people to go to put that particular QI team together, because they're the people who've already said, oh, I like the sound of this.
Fabulous. Thanks, Rob. I think we need to kind of wrap up because we're almost at 1. But if people want to, I know if Lauren hasn't asked her question, she could just stay for a minute or two. And but that's been a really great hour, and it's fabulous to learn a new tool that really surfaces a lot of the dynamics that we often don't see. And I love how we're all quite keen to be excited by new things as well. So thanks, Jorian. That was fabulous. If anyone wants to stay after 1, we'll have a bit more of a chat, or possibly do some impromptu networking, depending on who's there. And it would be great if you could all fill out the feedback survey so we can learn about how this session went and how we can improve things in future. So there, I've put the link in the chat, and it will be in the follow-up email that we'll send out in a few days as well, which will, I think, include a link to the multivoting guidance, just so that you can look at that again. Although maybe you'll remember it anyway, as you've seen Jorian explain it so well.
And just a small note, this is the first time that I introduce a new technology on Q, and I could do this more. So please fill out the survey if this is something that really interests you.
Exciting. There could be more things coming from Berlin and beyond. So thanks, everyone. That's been a really great session. Do join us for the next one. We'll send out details. And do let us know if there's a structure you want to facilitate in one of the future sessions. Do let us know about that. Also looking for people to join the kind of managing team for this group as well. So if you'd like to get more involved in seeing what we could be doing next and so on, that would be really useful too. So thank you all, and thanks to Jorian in particular. And do stay if you want to stay for a bit more of a chat. particularly, I think Lauren had a question, so hopefully someone that's able to answer it can stay. Lauren, do you want